and the headlines start to twist. He's digging through the stories, finding all the things you missed. Talking Super Bowl ads, old films in modern trouble. If the world's too loud, he cuts it down to the subtle. So turn that down, 'cause you know who's talking. Ooh, if there's truth in the static, Tom Gulley, from where you're looking. Ooh, you gotta dial G for Gulley. 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 Dial G for Gulley. You gotta dial G for Sunrise greets him with a golden crown. Tom Gulley's ready, no time to slow down. His voice a river, smooth and deep. He's got the stories that make the city weep. Walking streets where legends grow. Everywhere he stops, they already know. Tom Gulley goes to town. Oh, he lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they cheer, the talk of the town. Oh yeah, woo yeah, woo yeah. Barbershop chatter, a wave and a grin. Coffee shop wisdom, let the tales begin. The baker hands him a loaf with a smile. Tom, you're the man who makes life worthwhile. A mic in his hand, the airwaves ignite. He spins a story, he turns on the light. Listeners gather from far and wide. Tom Gulley's words, a city's pride. He lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they cheer, the talk of the town. Tom Gulley goes to town. Oh, he lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they cheer, the talk of the town.
When the daylight's fading and the world feels wrong, there's a voice on the airwaves, steady and strong. From the heart of the internet's wild frontier, Tom Gulley's talking, pull up a chair. He's got stories, he's got takes, he's got calls rolling in. From the tales of the weird to the shape of the spin. If you're tired of the noise and the nonsense online, there's a seat in the Gulley verse. Come take your time. The show must go on. The show must go on. With the mic burning bright through the dust to the dawn. Yeah, whatever goes wrong, the Tom Gulley Show lives on. The show must go on. He's the go on. So grab your Dr. Pepper and settle in tight. Tom's firing up the airwaves tonight. Whether chaos or calm, he keeps steering the ship with a quip, a riff, and that gully grip. The show must go on. The show must go on. Through the static and storms, every dusk, every dawn. From the heart of the net to the edge of beyond. The Tom Gulley Show lives on. Yes, the show must go on.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your Thanksgiving Eve? Tonight, let me tell you about gravy. All kinds of gravy. Every kind of gravy, because who doesn't love gravy? Can't get enough gravy. Isn't even a saying, man. It's like, hey, if you do this, that's gravy. The gravy train has come in. There's nothing bad about gravy. Never has been, never will be. Take it from me. You heard it here first. I'm going to tell you things about gravy that you didn't know about gravy, frankly. And you're going to be glad you heard these things, these gravy things. Hey, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all the absolutely free things you can do to help out our little show here with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing algorithm. And as we wish you a happy Thanksgiving, because there will be no show tomorrow, there will be one Friday. There could be one tomorrow. There could be, but there probably won't be. We have the super chats to be thankful for, and we have the memberships to be thankful for, and we always have the PayPal to be thankful for. That's where you give the most, I get the most, and Google gets nothing, not even gravy. We also have the TomGulleyShow.com. Our merch store is there. That's going to become so important as part of your key component holiday shopping. Anyway, any of that stuff you can do, want to do, can do, we'd be happy. Just letting you know it's there. Not for nothing. Little something for the effort. Gravy. We've got a lot of people in the chat right now, and many of them are quite enthusiastic, as you might imagine, about gravy. Sure, Brack is here from The Brack Show with Brack, starring Brack. He says, let's give it up for gravy, and I concur. JC is here. Well, technically, JC, but we know him so well, we'll just call him JC. He says, H2BH, happy to be here. I agree. He says, we talking about gravy. Here we go now. We talking about gravy. Gravy? Gravy. We talking about gravy. We talking about gravy. I know. We talking about gravy. Terry Nee is here. The always intrepid Terry Nee. Amazing gravy. Somebody I know from the fabulous LawTuber site that I spent 19 hours on today says, that's CPU Mod 1-11. I host an AA meeting on Zoom shortly, so I'll miss your show. Have a great one, and happy Turkey Day to you. Happy Turkey Day to you. I think MST3K is doing a Turkey Day tomorrow, if you get really bored. And by the way, great thing to have with the coffee and donuts at an AA meeting would be, I can't say for sure, I've never been to an AA meeting. I've been outside of an AA meeting. It's a long story. Well, this band I was in was going to perform. And we were performing in this building that had this giant room, and there was a big AA meeting in it. So we were waiting outside the AA meeting so it could end and we could set up on the stage. And, by the way, it was on New Year's Eve. And a bunch of the people from the AA meeting stayed for the big show. It was, like I said, it's a long story. JC says, I've never met a gravy I didn't like. And I said, well, yeah, me too, except for poison gravy. And JC says, oh, I'm sure a housewife or two thought of that one. And flatulence gravy. That's not a good gravy. JC says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the show Gulley will provide. Exactly. Oh, here we go. StreamYard has the worst mascot, by the way. I hate that duck, and I love ducks. That is the dumbest duck I have ever seen in my life. It's a stupid duck. Stupid. It's dumb, stupid, dumb. And one of the things that I'm not thankful for this year is StreamYard. Christian Slater is here. Always good to see Christian. How come no spider references in the new intros? Kind of sad. No, there's a spider reference in the last one of the songs. He spins a web like a spider at night. One of the songs. There's a spider reference in there. You should be thankful for that. JC says, it's still some great intro music. Right. It is, Christian. Come on, man. There's spider references in at least one of those. There might be more. I'd have to think about it. JC says, is the Gulley grip similar to the Western grip? No. The Gulley grip actually takes several years to learn. I love Brack's show. It is great. My friends call me Jared or not Jared. I'm going to call you Jared. It's good to see you here, Jared. I know this is your busy time of year. Tom's hot gravy is a delicacy. Well, you know, there's 42 absolutely filthy things I could say right now, and I'm not going to say one of them. Not directed at Turkatron, of course. We love Turkatron. But to the world, they would be filthy. Absolutely filthy. Just reprobate, just terrible. Recalcitrant. Scurrilous. Deplorable things. Let me tell you about gravy. Oh, gravy. Thank you, StreamYard, for not honoring the formatting that I had used just seconds earlier. Gravy is a sauce. It's a sauce. As a matter of fact, we'll get to it later. There's a lot of controversy about certain kinds of gravy being either gravy or sauce. People fight about this, and I'm pro-choice. I've never gotten involved in the fight, but gravy is made from the juices of meats. By the way, you're going to drool during this show. Some would say slobber. I prefer drool. In the South, they say slobber. It's made from the juices of meats and vegetables that run naturally during cooking. And they're oftentimes, they thicken them up for texture. They thicken those babies up. And you know what they use to thicken them up with? It's called thickeners. That's what the cooking community calls them. They say thickeners. You can color your gravy, or you can flavor it with things like, and this is an actual thing. It's not just salt you put in gravy. It's called gravy salt, which is partially salt, and then some caramel food coloring. Just a little touch of sweetness in the caramel, and it's gravy browning. That's gravy salt, the thing I just described, dissolved in water a little bit, or the always popular, bouillon cubes. When I was a kid, I made the mistake of seeing a bouillon cube, and it was all wrapped up like they are, and thinking it was a candy. Put it in my mouth. Anyway, they've got powders that you can put in as a substitute for meat or vegetable extracts. I won't get it. That sounds like an emergency vehicle. Or some firemen that heard me talking about gravy. Gravy is served normally with other things. Although you can drink gravy, I've done it. I'm not too proud to say I have, yes, a nice tall glass of hot gravy. They serve it with a roast or meatloaf, or you can put gravy on a sandwich. A lot of people put it over rice or noodles or fries, chips, as they say, across the pond. By the way, did Arsenal win today? They were up 1-0. Last I checked. Sorry, folks, I got to check this out. 3-1 over Bayern Munich. Thank you. Thank you. In the Champions League, by the way. You can use it, a very popular way is over mashed taters. Oh, gravy and mashed taters. Well, let me let you in a little insight. When I was a kid, I didn't like gravy on my mashed potatoes. I just wanted the mashed potatoes. And then that fateful day, somebody put gravy on my mashed taters without knowing I didn't want it that way, and I had it, and I said, this is actually really better, good. And then biscuits and gravy. Extremely popular in certain parts of the world. Yes. All right, some people really want to get into this gravy thing, man. They really, really want to. They really, really want to talk gravy. They really do. Brack says, I've always viewed it as a beverage, and why not? Goat says moist, slobbery juices. Yes. And he also says that thickener is cheating, and it is. Well, thickener, if it's a natural thickener, if it's like the meat drippings and things like that, if it's, but the poured in powdery, bought from a store, no. I too have drank gravy. Only men of culture understand. As a matter of fact, right out of the gravy boat, just gravy on a steak is a sin, by the way. I would agree with that. Gravy for the win, says Chris. Chris, we're going to be talking about poutine here in a later. So for our Canadian friends, we will be talking about that. People saying, hi, most cheerful chat room on the internet is verified by independent sources. Way back, one of the very earliest recordings of a mention of gravy, right, is in the 14th century. And it's from a British recipe book, a very famous one called The Form of Curry. And form is spelled F-O-R-M-E, and it's, whatever. The original manuscript has been lost to the ages. But the actual text, copies of it, appear in 9 different manuscripts that exist. And the most famous one is an actual scroll, like in the old movies, there was a scroll. And it's got like a head note citing it as the work of the chief master cooks of the realm. It's a pretty heady thing. But the term itself, gravy, originates from the old French. The old France, the word for meat or fish bouillon, which in the 14th century from French manuscripts mentions the word grave. Yes. Might have been associated with grain. Don't really know. But it was definitely, a sauce that we used. A very rich sauce, I'm sure. If it is the French. Anyway. The long and storied history of how the British went all over the world and tried to colonize certain places. They succeeded in many places, except one notable exception where those people said, not going to happen here, and you're never going to beat us in a World Cup match. It's the United States. But here in North America, we have that tradition that we share. And it influenced the way that we cooked, of course, here and up in Canada. And here in North America, gravy is considered popular, if not indispensable, sauce. A sauce. You just can't say sauce. You got to sauce. which goes along with your traditional Thanksgiving and Christmas meals with turkey and potatoes and other things. I think it's reductive to confine that to just Thanksgiving and Christmas, because gravy, you can have gravy every day. And I know a lot of people who do. Now, in the South, here in the United States, biscuits and gravy are super popular, that originated in the southern portion of the Appalachians in the late 1800s. Now, while the South is noted for its gravy, many different types, most of them contain sausage, flour, butter, milk, which are very affordable types of things, and it's an inexpensive way to make deliciousness. For my good friend Chris, gravy is one of 3 ingredients. I'll just go ahead and put it up here. Gravy is one of 3 ingredients in something that I learned to just love and got addicted to when I worked in Canada, up in Toronto. And that is the French Canadian dish poutine, made up of French fries, cheese curds, and a salty light brown sauce containing beef and chicken stock. Oh my God, sweet mystery of life, at last I've found you. If you've never had poutine, you are missing out. And I've had it here in the States, and the mistake they make here is, and I don't know that it's a mistake, it might just be preference. Man, up in Canada, they get those fries really crispy so that when you put the gravy on it, it doesn't just turn to mush. And the curds, and if it's really hot fries, they melt a little bit, but they're still solid. I want some poutine right now so badly. But that came out of Quebec in the 1950s, and it really has become highly associated with Canada, as well it should, because God, is it good. It is so good. Look, I'm going to talk about this next thing. And I'm not happy about it. In fact, I'm pretty unhappy about it, to be honest with you. And this next thing that I'm going to talk about is so offensive to me that I not only am going to leave the poutine on the screen, I'm going to put it full screen in an effort to counterbalance how much this disgusts me, okay? The first instant gravy. Instant gravy. I don't even like saying it. My mouth has a copper taste of death and fear just saying it. It was developed by the British company Bisto in 1908. Some say is like this meat-flavored powder that you can, obviously put with water and serve it with meat. Other people say it was a way to demoralize everyone on Earth. It's up for debate. Instant gravy is now sold by lots of companies, including Heinz, Knorr, Knorr, and McCormick. And to those 3 companies, I say, we will not forget. We will never forget what you have done to gravy. Bunch of real jerks. If you ask me, they're just a bunch of jerks. Again, in an effort to counterbalance what's gone on there. Hopefully that makes it a little better. Brown gravy is the name for gravy made from the drippings. The delicious drippings from roasted meat or fowl. The drippings are then cooked on a stovetop at high heat with sometimes onions, sometimes other vegetables, And then they're thickened. They are, but they're thickened with a mixture of water, maybe of flour, maybe cornstarch, real things. There's a real reason for doing it. It's not some artificial thickener. Some thickener. Oh, I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of other kinds of gravy coming up here. I am, but there's been a lot of comments, so, you know. Chris, of course, being from the Canadian provinces, loves his poutine. Jared says gravitas. Poutine and Quebec cheese curds. Oh, God, even just cheese curds. I used to live in Utah. They would get a delivery of cheese curds every Thursday. And they had three kinds. Plain. There was like a Spanish kind that had just a little bit of spicy flavors to it. It didn't really taste that Spanish. It just had some seasonings in it. And the other one was like a ranch curds, but I never got it. It wasn't as ranchy as you might think. And it seemed to me like they were tricking it up too much. I don't like to trick up my cheese curds. Jared says you have to make biscuits and gravy if you want it and live in New York. Fully Yorked problems. Well, I'll get to biscuits and gravy. It's the next kind of gravy I'm going to talk about. And I have a story that goes with it. Uh-oh, chef is in the house. He knows all about gravy. We can tell this man nothing about gravy. He's a chef, after all. Jared says, poutine, it's a side in my book. Very delicious. Oh, gosh, you can have it as a main anything. You could just eat poutine for like a week. And it would be the side, it would be the entree, it would be the beverage, it would be everything. Chris says, it is tasty as heck, Tom. They have places called poutineries that only serve like 30 types of it. Oh, my good Lord. You are correct, Tom. It is a science, bro. Yeah, you can't. When you get like, say, steak fries, or you know those big fries you get at a diner. They're not raw or anything, but they're just kind of soft, and they're almost like eating mashed potatoes. They're not bad. I'm not saying they're bad, especially with some ketchup. But you can't have those for poutine. You just can't. Terry says, let's get this poutine party started. Let's get it started in here. Jared says, the trick with Canadian fries is they will soak them in water overnight. A lot of people do that, not just the Canadians. Uncle Fatty is endorsing poutine with a red finger number 1 text yellow goal, which did not appear in emoji form. Everything is better with gravy, says Uncle Fatty. Yes, I totally agree. Spinal injury, bad. Spinal injury with gravy, well, better, you know. By the way, please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. It doesn't cost you a cent. It helps us with the algorithm, the almighty algorithm. It really does help. Super chats, memberships, PayPal, all of that stuff. Oop, I didn't put the begging bar up. There's the begging bar. It tells how to do all those things, but it's also in the description of the show, so that's out of the way. Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving. Not that you should feel charitable at all on Thanksgiving, but I got to strike while the iron's hot, and there's some people in here. Let's see here. Jared says, gravy better than au jus. It is, but a good au jus sometimes really hits the spot. Goat says, Spanish cheese curds? No. Well, they really weren't Spanish. They weren't plain. It was some sort of spice, and it was very slight. It just gave it a little something. I can't even describe it. And I liked it, so no, it's pretty good. Goat says, real chefs can make gravy with their eyes closed. Yes. Have you attended Quebec's annual Poutini Weenie Festival? I have not. I didn't spend all that much time in Quebec. Only once or twice. Isn't Montreal in Quebec? I only went to Montreal like 2 times. And I went to Vancouver 10 times, and I was in Toronto. So all I know is in Quebec they say things like, the whole country has to bow to Toronto. Anyway, Terry Nee says, I like lumpy gravy. A lot of people do. I don't know why. I mean, and I don't really care. I don't care. Obviously, I care deeply about your opinions on gravy, Terry. Who among us doesn't? But I don't really care if the gravy's lumpy or not. I mean, if it's unmixed, I've never seen that, but then I would care a bit. Otherwise, but a lot of people do like their gravy lumpy. I guess instant gravy is better than no gravy. Jared, you make a good point. But it's still unacceptable. Chris is agreeing. Jared says, I made IKEA instant gravy once. I didn't know IKEA had instant gravy, and if it did, isn't it hard to put together? Doesn't it take a long time with poor instruction manual? Let's see. Chris says, if you ever go back to Quebec, Tom, go to Smoke's Poutineery. That one is the best, and they have them everywhere. I will. Is it Smokes or Smokies? Smokes. Right. It's on my list. All right. Now, there is a thing, and people love this. They love it. And it is, of course, biscuits and gravy. And that makes use of a gravy called cream gravy or white gravy. Some people even call it sawmill gravy, okay? And it's made from using the fats of meat, like sausage or bacon, or meat roasting, drippings from roasting or frying, really, any kind of meat. The fat and the drippings are combined with flour to make a roux, They make a roux with it, and milk, is typically added as well. Not necessarily a lot of milk, but some milk. Or you can use cream, Now, frequently, and as you can see in this photo, black pepper is added to this. And bits of herbs and bits of meat may be added, like sausage. I've seen it with ham. I'm not advocating that, but sausage. And this is a big deal in the South. Right here, it's served with some what looked like to be absolutely decadent hash browns, and sometimes mashed potatoes. Sometimes you have fried chicken has it, or chicken fried steak. A lot of other names for this are country gravy. I mentioned sawmill gravy, milk gravy, and sausage gravy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They got all those. And people just can't get enough. Now, let me just tell you about a little story about biscuits and gravy. Gilman, thank you so much for the $1.99. It is so much appreciated. It says Red Eye Gravy. Happy Thanksgiving, Gullerinos. Gilman, it will shock you to know I am going to do a specific description of Red Eye Gravy. It is on the list here. It certainly is. So growing up, I grew up in a Catholic family. And we went to the early Mass. I don't remember if it was 6 o'clock Mass or 7 o'clock Mass. It's kind of, was it 6 a.m. or 7 a.m.? It doesn't matter. It was just super early. I think it was 6 a.m. It was 6 a.m. because I know there was an 8 o'clock Mass. So we went to 6 o'clock Mass. And that means 8 people, 6 kids, getting up early enough so all of them can, shower and do all that other stuff and be ready to leave at 5:30 because it took about 15 or 20 minutes to drive to the church, and we had to be there early, so it was a big production, and you're just tired, and you go to the Mass, and, Catholic Mass, you're sitting for a lot of the time. Half of the year it's freezing out in Indiana, so you get in there, and then you get warm, and you're tired, and the organ music, and you're just doing the usual, we believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. We acknowledge the baptism for the forgiveness of sins. You're just blah, 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 because you've done it a million times. And then you leave church and you go home, and by this time it's about 7:30. And you know for a fact that your dad is going to want you to work in the yard, whether it's picking up sticks or raking leaves or shoveling the driveway or whatever it is. There's going to be things to do. And he's going to want to start that by a certain time period, usually 11 o'clock in the morning. So you've got only a little time. Now, what can mom make for 8 people that's quick and easy and people will like it? Biscuits and gravy, right? The universal solution. Making up all those biscuits, quick, cheap, easy. And then the gravy, pretty easy as well. And the sausage and the bing and the bang and the boom and the bang and the bing. And she'd make hash browns. She had this giant griddle that she would use. And she grate the potatoes and make big, giant thing of it. And then chunk, cut these big squares. And they were, oh man, she could make those so good. Just crunchy, crispy on the outside and nice and tender on the inside. Oh, God, they were good. We ate a lot of potatoes in my house. But at a certain point, I started mentally associating biscuits and gravy with all of the stress of Sunday morning, of getting up. And by the way, I had a paper route. I delivered the Indianapolis Star Sunday edition to a neighborhood about 3/4 of a mile, probably, from our house, maybe a little closer. Further. And during the week, I could carry it in my paper sack. But on the weekends, there were so many, I had to rent from the Indianapolis Star Company this big wrought iron wagon. I should have got a picture of it, and fill it up with these Sunday editions, which were gigantic. And the neighborhood that I went and did it in had these hills that had inclines. It was cool going down, but going up them. So I had to do all that and then go to church. And then you're sitting there eating, and you're going to have to go through this yard work ordeal. And at a certain point, I gained an aversion to biscuits and gravy. Everybody I know in the world loves biscuits and gravy. I can't stand it. I see it, and I don't like it. When the biscuits and gravy would start getting passed around, I would take like 2 or 3 biscuits and just cut them in half and put butter on them, maybe a dab of jelly, and eat those. Oh, the lectures I got. But it was kind of like, no, you can't make me eat the biscuits and gravy. They could have if he wanted to, but they lightened up on that. And I just went, look, I don't like biscuits and gravy. If it's super hot, it's great. If it starts to congeal, forget it. I'm not eating. I just don't like biscuits and gravy. I'm sorry. So I don't like biscuits and gravy. I'm that guy. Never have. I've tried it several times since, thinking maybe that was a youthful thing, an indiscretion, something we could recover from. No, it's not. To this day, I hate biscuits and gravy. And I've had people go, here's my favorite biscuits and gravy. And I've just gone, oh, man, I try to choke it down. I don't like biscuits and gravy. I'm sorry. That's my biscuits and gravy story. But a lot of people absolutely love it. JC says, Tom, food porn should be banned from YouTube. It really should, but while it's not, I'm riding that gravy train. You'll rue the day, you will rue the day. Randy, the chef himself, says, I really like sage sausage and gravy. It might be great, but I'll never know. Oh, sage sausage and gravy. Well, sage sausage and gravy. Well, that might be good. I don't know, as long as there's no biscuit. Uncle Fatty says, gravy. Chris says, I've never had biscuits and gravy, but it sounds pretty good. It's not a thing here. Well, it is. It's good. I'm not going to say it's not good. People love it. I just can't stand it anymore. Add pepper and a little Tabasco. Well, that there has pepper. I've never seen biscuits and gravy, at least good biscuits and gravy without pepper. So there you go. Another kind of gravy is called egg gravy. And we used to have this at our house too. My grandmother made it all the time. And you start with meat drippings, usually from bacon, and the grease. And you put flour in there, and you make up that roux, and then you add water or broth or milk, and bring it back up to a boil, and then you salt and pepper it. And then a well-beaten egg is slowly added in while the gravy is being stirred or whisked. And that cooks the egg immediately in that hot gravy mixture, and it separates it into little tiny small fragments in the gravy. I do like egg gravy. Yes, I do. Now, there's a thing called red gravy, and maybe Jared can help us out with this because he's from the East Coast there. There's a lot of different things that are called red gravy, and I'm not talking about red-eye gravy, Gilman. I'll talk about that in a second. In New Orleans, it's a simple, basic tomato sauce. But in some Italian-American communities, as in the East Coast or New York, it's a complex, long, slow-cooked tomato sauce that frequently has meat in it and sometimes vegetables. Although there is a distinction that I have been unable to distinguish between sauce and gravy. And I have seen people take a meat axe to somebody over this in debate. Is it sauce or is it gravy? What's on those noodles? Sauce or gravy? People get really bent out of shape about it, like severely. By the way, just for your edification, we do have a link up at the top of the page that, people can use if they want to a little later, even now. I don't know. I'm bringing people on when the time is right. There's a thing called giblet gravy. I hesitate to even talk about it because it's so nasty. It's gravy made from giblets of turkey or chicken. I hate the giblets, so I hate the gravy. If you like the giblets from poultry, then you might like the gravy. I hate it. Hate it. Now, don't mistake this for the poutine. This is one of my favorite kinds of gravy, and that is mushroom gravy. In this instance, it has been placed over French fries. And the reason I'm showing this and not on potatoes or something else is this is the best gravy picture that a mushroom gravy picture that I have. And look at that. I want that mushroom gravy. It is so good. And there's a lot of different gravies that you can use this in. It's usually a dark brown gravy. And a lot of times it might have some Worcestershire in it. And it's fabulous, man. It's let's not beat around the bush. It's some damn fine gravy. It really is. Uncle Fatty says red clam chowder is not gravy. I agree with you. JC says no difference between sauce and gravy. Just Sicilians call it gravy, and they aren't really Italian. Well, I'm not getting involved in that fight because I know how the Sicilians can be. Mushroom gravy, though, oh my God. Anything mushroom, I'm in, man. I'm in. Now, here's a little thing that people like to call onion gravy. And I've had this, and it's really good as well. You make this by slowly sweating, which just means stirring and sort of simmering, chopped onions, and then you mix that with stock, broth, or wine. In England, as in this case, it is very commonly served with bangers and mash, which is It's just sausage and mashed potatoes, only they don't talk right. They serve it with eggs sometimes, or chops, or other grilled or fried meat that doesn't make its own gravy. So for those poor, suffering, pitied forms of meat that don't make their own gravy, onion gravy comes to the rescue. Now for our good man and good friend, Gilman. This is what you call some red eye gravy. Oh, yes. And, oh my God, just talking about this is going to make me mental. Red eye gravy is made from the drippings of ham fried in a skillet or a frying pan. Now, the pan is deglazed with coffee, and all that means is you're removing any charred or stuck to the pan pieces of meat or fat. You pour some coffee in there and you scrape it off, and that's what gives the gravy its name, okay? Is that coffee added to the drippings and everything else. Doesn't make the darkness of coffee, it makes a red kind of gravy, and it don't use no thickening whatsoever, and it's a staple of the South, and it's usually served over ham, which obviously you just made the gravy from, grits, or biscuits. There is a thing called vegetable gravy. Ladies and gentlemen, I refuse, to talk about vegetable gravy. We're going to pretend that doesn't exist for the purposes of our forum here today. JC says mushroom gravy is called Hunter's gravy or Jaeger gravy. I've never heard it called that. I don't care what you call it, as long as it's got mushrooms in it. Uncle Fatty says, oh yeah, over a dang old New York strip steak. No, I wouldn't put any gravy on the strip steak. I wouldn't put anything. Not those steaks out, nothing. The chef says, I think I've made just about everything you said so far. Well, I would hope so, being a chef extraordinaire. Mushroom gravy is tasty as well. Oh my God. If it's made right, some people overdo the mushrooms, and they're just these mushy, mushroom flavored, not even robust. But if you get it where there's just a little al dente, there's just a little bite, and it's mushrooms, and it's Spam gravy. Look, if somebody wants to make a gravy from Spam, I'll support that. I'll take that to the House of Representatives. Sure, I will. Now, we've talked a little bit about gravy. Let's talk about the cuisines of gravy. What do people use it for? How's it cooked? Blah, 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 blah. Now, we've covered some of this, but covering it again just allows us to talk a little bit more about gravy. Oh, dear. In the UK and in Ireland, and some places here in the United States, although not necessarily in the same way, a Sunday roast is usually served with gravy. And you normally eat that with beef, pork, chicken, or lamb. Also popular in different parts of England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland to have gravy with just chips. And that's normally from a fish and chip shop or from a Chinese takeaway or fast food place. Okay, now this gravy here is the traditional British way to serve it, and we don't do it like that. We put the gravy on the stuff. Now, they may have done that, and it goes to the bottom of the dish. Our gravies are usually thicker than that, and we put them directly on things. Now, as you can see in this meal, there's not directly a thing that if you were using U.S. gravy, the better kind, you would actually put on something except maybe the meat, because the potatoes are kind of made separately there, as you can see. So there you go. Now, in British and in Irish cuisine and the places in the Commonwealth like Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, the word gravy refers only to the meat-based sauce from the meat juices. The use of the word gravy doesn't really include other thickened sauces. One of the most popular forms is onion gravy there. Of course, we mentioned that earlier, which is eaten with sausages, Yorkshire pudding, and roast meat. Now, here in the United States, gravy is commonly eaten with Thanksgiving foods, such as turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, and other things. This is a really lousy picture of our gravy, but it's the closest thing I could find that I wouldn't get knocked off the internet for using. We talked about biscuits and gravy. Other southern dishes that use white gravy are chicken fried steak, and that is good. I don't mind the white gravy on that. Rice and gravy is a staple of Cajun and Creole dishes in the southern part of Louisiana. We mentioned poutine. In some parts of Asia, particularly India. Let's leave this better kind of gravy up here for the time being while we talk about the gravy from India. Parts of Asia, India. Gravy is thickened, and it's any thickened liquid is gravy there. The liquid part of thick curry could be called gravy there. And if you've seen any videos on YouTube recently, you know that oftentimes that gravy is thickened by a man with a short sleeve shirt stirring the gravy up in a vat with his arm and a giant pit stain. If you've seen those videos on YouTube. There are some Maghreb cuisines, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, that use gravy with bread, okay? And that's usually oil, meat, and vegetable kinds of gravies. The gravy is made, it's served with a loaf of bread, and the bread is then dipped into the gravy, and then the gravy-dipped bread is used to gather or scoop the meat and vegetables between the index, middle finger, and thumb, like this. So you get the big piece of gravy, bread, dip the bread, okay? And then you take that bread and you grab the other stuff and eat it. Which, sitting here, sounds messy and sloppy, but it also sounds like it might be absolutely delicious, considering. So, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Better than veggie gravy. I don't like vegetable gravy. Bangers and mash is a decent British food, says Gilman. It is. It is. And bangers and mash is a traditional thing that you would eat before a soccer match. So I've had bangers and mash. I've made bangers and mash. I've never made it with gravy. And I certainly never have made it with onion gravy. But I've made bangers and mash with croissants and, you can make a sandwich out of it if you want. But yes, I've made bangers and mash. Sometimes I'll make bangers and fries over here. But I remember watching the FA Cup one time. I invited a friend of mine who was a big shot at this bank. And he came over, and I think I had Guinness for him because he drank. I'm like, we're doing the whole British thing before this deal. And we watched, and he thought it was the greatest thing that had ever happened in his life. Didn't serve him a meat pie. You can only get those at the stadium, you see. All right. Well, that is really all I have to tell you about gravy. I hope, and I just really deeply and genuinely hope this, that everyone listening right now has or had, if they listen on demand later, a spectacular Thanksgiving. I hope the gravy was incredible. And would love to hear what y'all are doing for your Thanksgivings. I do have the link up. I've got about 11 minutes left here. And I'm going to the home of my best friend and his family and a bunch of other people they're having over for Thanksgiving. They do a big, I mean, his wife starts 2 or 3 days in advance. They do a big, giant celebration. I do not like to be around groups of people. I'm a kind of a person that I like to be around a couple of people. And so this event is going to have about 12, 15 people probably. That's too many for me. I'll get through it though. If I go to a restaurant and there's 100 people at the restaurant, that's fine as long as there's only 2 or 3 with me at the table. It didn't used to be that way, but I'm a little bit of, no, I wouldn't say agoraphobic, but large groups, I don't go to sporting events anymore. I just have an aversion to the public. There. How's that sound? Thanks, Tom. Happy Thanksgiving to you, too. Well, Chris, you already had your Thanksgiving, a month ago up there in Canada? I don't know why you guys can't just get on board and have it when we have it, but... Is turducken worth the effort? I have had turducken. I say it's worth the effort if you like turducken. When I had it, I thought, this is just a novelty. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, look, turducken. Wow, that's amazing. That's great. And I don't think it's the best way to cook all 4 of those things or however many there are. I didn't think it was that great. I thought it was pretty average, to be honest with you. Yes, sir, the harvest comes in a bit earlier here. No, you guys just wanted to be special. Just wanted to be special. Let's see here. Deboned chicken, so you got chicken, duck, and then inside of a turkey. And duck is not the easiest thing in the world to cook. It is different in texture and other things than those 2 other meats. If I'm going to have duck, I want somebody to concentrate on the duck. I don't want it, so I just cook the 3 things separately. I thought it was a novelty. Let's see here. Uncle Fatty says, much love, Mr. Gulley. I'm currently fixing the peanut butter pies and preparing sweet taters for tomorrow. The first tea giving day with my 2 new grandbabies at my daughter's home. Well, that sounds spectacular. Have a happy, happy day. I've never gained an affinity for sweet potatoes, nor sweet potato fries, but a lot of people really love it. I don't have anything against it. It's like, okay. Some people absolutely love it. And it is nice to have lots of options on Thanksgiving. So Jared says, I only eat duck with a Cornish hen shoved up its arse. Cornish hen is good. Duck, I've had duck, and I've had it be really good. But more often than not, it's just not done quite. It's a very fatty kind of meat. My good friend, the chef, who knows members of my family intimately, says, Tom, I hope your Thanksgiving and everyone else also. Oh, by the way, don't forget to say goodnight, Gracie. Good night, Gracie, and you and your family have a splendid and wonderful Thanksgiving as well. And I spoke briefly to the senior lecturer today. My family is... with the exception of myself and one of my brothers, each of us live way far away. They're all getting together at my mother's house tomorrow, so I'll mention that you said hi if I talk to her again, which I might here. I might call over there tomorrow. Uncle Fatty says, I still got $5 that says Diaper Don kicks the bucket on Friday morning. Death by gravy, ha. Duck and goose, says Uncle Fatty, are better for jerky. If there's one thing I could leave everybody with here on this Thanksgiving's Eve, it's the notion that I will be doing a show on Friday. Oh, come on, man. Why you got to do me like that? Why you got to do me like, look at that. Why would you do that? If there's one thing I could leave you with, other than I am doing a show on Friday, there is a chance I could do a show tomorrow. It would be late. It would be unorganized. But there's a chance. Oh, by the way, thank you, Gilman. Thankful for your $1.99 contribution. We're really raking it in here at the Tom Gulley Show. It would be this. If I could leave you with one thing, it would be this. As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. And seen. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Gilman says the cranberry slices is the one food I avoid on Thanksgiving. When I was a kid, you never saw cranberries made any other way than shunk out of the can and then sliced up. Nowadays, I don't hardly see that anymore. A lot of people actually make cranberry sauce, which is, and I did have a grandmother that would make it once in a while. It's difficult to make well. You know, the cranberries have to be the right ripeness, number one. But also, they're tart. They're very tart. Unless you get that perfectly right, oh, God. The good cranberry sauce is spectacular. Like most things. Goat says, bravo. Did you like that? They're hitting the pavement like bags of wet cement. They're regrouping. As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. Uncle Fatty says, be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. Cranberry jello doesn't count. No, it doesn't. And cranberry juice doesn't necessarily count, although it's delicious and very good for your urinary tract. And you know you're having a great Thanksgiving when someone says urinary tract. So there. Speaking of bangers and all the ways to contribute or see the show or get merch or do all that stuff, they're in the description of the show. Taking the begging bar down now. Apparently, it didn't work. But in that description, Leon Kennedy has made available all of the show songs that he created. And so I hope you enjoy those. And I'm looking at that old clock on the wall, and it says, like the Reverend Al Green, it's time for me to get up on out of here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And I hope you are home with family and friends and have a great, wonderful, happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to play a killer song, Diller, and I'm going to say, till next time, Friday. We'll see you next time. Again, this song, if I had to pick one to be the theme, this would be the one.
When the daylight's fading and the world feels wrong, there's a voice on the airwaves, steady and strong, from the heart of the internet's wild frontier. Tom Gulley's talking, pull up a chair. He's got stories, he's got takes, he's got calls rolling in, from the tales of the weird to the shape of the spin. If you're tired of the noise and the nonsense online, there's a seat in the Gulley verse. Come take your time. The show must go on. The show must go on, with the mic burning bright through the dusk to the dawn. show must go on. He's the radio outlaw with a charm so sly, a storyteller's cadence and a wink in his eye. From the ghosts in the attic to the news of the day, Tom breaks it all down in his signature way. He's the king of the ramble, the lord of the yarn. He'll take you from evening straight through the dawn, with callers so strange you'd swear they're a bit. But Tom never wavers, he just rolls with it. The show must go on, the show must go on, with the mic burning bright through the dusk to the dawn. Yeah, whatever goes wrong, the Tom Gulley Show lives on. The show must go on. So grab your Dr. Pepper and settle in tight. Tom's firing up the airwaves tonight. Whether chaos or calm, he keeps steering the ship with a quip, a riff, and that gully grip. The show must go on, the show must go on, through the static and storms, every dusk, every dawn, from the heart of the net to the edge of beyond. The Tom Gulley Show lives on.